Some things you better do when you are young. For example, redefining pop and rock music because it never had been done before, except by this one and only band during the 60s entitled The Velvet Underground. My name is Matthias Merkelbach and welcome to my channel Neverland, where everything is about forgotten records or slightly ignored or somehow buried treasures from pop music's history. I am not a native English speaker, though I am addressing an international audience. Please excuse my little flaws and mistakes. When I moved to Berlin in 1986 for my studies attending a university, I was also hanging out in a lot of the record stores in my quarter. I got in touch with a man named Björn Schrenk, who was the editor-in-chief for a music magazine called Limited Edition. And in December of 1986, me and Ulla Moira were publishing an article about New Zealand's independent music scene. The article was named Flying Nun from Oceania. Flying Nun because that was the name of the label of Roger Shepard, a record store owner located in Christchurch, New Zealand, who in 1981 started to produce music by local bands. The first record ever published under the flag of Flying Nun was named Dunedin Double in 1982. It was a double 12-inch, 2 records, 4 sides, 4 bands. The Verlaines, the Chills, the Stones, and Sneaky Feelings. Way back then, I had no idea what was going on way down under. But in 1985, a German record label entitled Normal and located in Bonn was publishing a record called Tuatara, a Flying Nun compilation. And because of that, I got familiar with bands like The Clean, The Gordons, Tall Dwarfs, and Sneaky Feelings, who were on that sampler once more. Send You by the Sneaky Feelings was their debut album, recorded in 1983 and published in 1984. And it's this record today's episode of Neverland is all about. But first, let's take a look at this photograph. It shows Sneaky Feelings in 1982 and can be found on the inside of that gatefold sleeve of this already mentioned record, Dunedin Double. When I looked at it way back then, and when I look at it now, I always think by myself, yes, this is exactly how it was being young during the early 80s. Though I grew up on the other side of the planet, I always felt kind of moved by looking at this photograph. The surroundings and the people always felt strangely familiar to me. Listening to Send You, you will immediately figure out that this music and this album is not about flashy guitar solos or virtuoso musicianship. But the songwriting truly is great. Sneaky Feelings at this time were getting the most out of the limited circumstances they were caught in, whether this was studio, technology, instruments, or any other kind of limitation they had to face. They were doing simply great on this album. Listening to it today, I'm still impressed by these songs that obviously had to be written, that obviously needed to be recorded, needed to be played and sung. This is how strong this album is. I like all of the songs on it, but Throwing Stones was my favorite way back then and even today, and it could also be found on the Tuatara sampler. Approximately 10 years ago, I was asking myself, I still have that album Send You by Sneaky Feelings, and my musical taste definitely had changed over the years. So I was asking myself, do I really need that one, or could I give it away? I just took it from the shelf and gave it a try. And I was immediately hooked once again. And it was as good for me as it was when I was first listening to it. Sneaky Feelings were never really successful, but they continued doing music for the rest of the decade and also published an album in 1986 and once more in 1988. Both of these were kind of okay, nice, not bad at all, but then they did lack, at least for my taste, the spirit and spontaneity that they had covered on the first one. The first one is the debut album that definitely nailed it, and it's better than everything they did after. At least that's my opinion about it. So, thank you very much for listening. And if you're still in line with me when it comes to mid-80s jingle jangle, 60s drenched and new wave influenced guitar pop, and you like to listen to that kind of stuff, you may give Send You a try. So, that was my first presentation about a New Zealand band. If you liked it, you may hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, we hopefully see each other next time. Bye bye.